3, 2, and 1, and we are recording. DJ,
welcome to the SHB Unfiltered Podcast, episode number, Ruben?
27.
Episode number 27. We are the only podcast that streams every day on Facebook, live, around this time, consistently now for 27 days straight. No breaks and no gaps. Today we are talking about something a little bit different. Today we're going to look into something that people might not expect, but we are going to look at celebrities who stutter or have had a stutter, what they have done to overcome it, and what we can learn from it. Ruben, I know that a lot of other organizations, stuttering organizations, look at these people and you hear the same names over and over again. But what I thought was important for us is to be able to look at what they do, what industry they're in, what journey they've sort of taken, and what we can learn. I don't think that that's really heavily described. It's just, look at this person, he's now a celebrity or she is now a celebrity. They're rich and they're famous, and if they can do it, then you can do it. But it's not usually as simple as that, is it?
It isn't, Chris. But before we get on to that, you missed something very important out.
I forgot to ask you how your day was.
Thank you, man. Bloody hell, because there was something I've been meaning to tell you all day, but I didn't say anything. So I was saving it just for the podcast, and
I apologize.
took away my time. This was my time to tell everyone how great I am at being in quarantine. I'm smashing this quarantine thing.
Well, the floor is yours. Tell them, what have you been smashing today?
I woke up at 6 o'clock, and I was doing work at 6 till about 7:30. Then put my trainers on, put my shorts on, went out, did a 3K run, 2.9K, crisp on concrete as well, so feeling the joints a bit, but the muscles as well, especially tense, because I was still experiencing DOM. Came back, smashed my 100 press-ups, showered up as well, had my coffee in the morning, had my breakfast, smashed work in the day, research stuff for this podcast, finished work on time, smashed lunch, made an omelette with mushrooms, onions. I had like pastrami and a few other antipasti meats in there with the help of Aranja as well, of course. It wasn't just me, but it was me doing the majority of the work. And did that. Now I'm hitting the podcast. At the same time, I was prepping for dinner as well. So I've already chopped everything up. I have already put the chicken in the marinade, so it's in the fridge, just getting the flavors in, and all the spices are ready. So as soon as this is done, I'm going to go in there, turn the hob on, and on to season 6 of Power, episode 2. Yeah.
Season 6, which is the good season, if I remember correctly. So today you've worked, you've exercised, you've done your press-ups, and you've eaten well, and now you're prepared for the podcast in a good frame of mind, and you know that you're going to have dinner waiting for you afterwards, which is always a nice thought, right?
Well, we're not waiting exactly. There's still some work to do, so it'll be ready half an hour later, as opposed to the usual hour. But I've actually smashed today. This is probably the best day so far. And you almost took away my moment to gloat, and show everyone how smug I am, and how I'm smashing lockdown, and you lazy people aren't doing anything at all, because I'm amazing. Hopefully this carries on tomorrow. There's no guarantees, but have you done your 5K run yet?
I thought you wouldn't ask. I got a confession, Ruben. I haven't done my 5K run yet.
I'm not surprised.
What do you mean you're not surprised?
Because when I saw the Instagram video of you struggling to chase after your dog, that's when I thought,
no, I was struggling to
guys,
get the dog to obey me, not chase after her.
Okay.
Because I wasn't prepared to move, but my dog wasn't prepared to listen. So she saw some of her pals in the park and refused to walk along with me and Charlie. But yeah, I was planning to do it this morning, but then I wanted to take the dog for a walk, but I'm not comfortable to run around the park and leave the dog. So the dog's too old to run along with me.
You sure it's not the other way around? Because by the looks of it, you're struggling to catch up with the dog.
Nah, it's true. But I will be doing my 5K run today, afterwards. After this, I'm trying to wait for the sunset to go down, for the temperature to go down, so there's not other variables that are impacting my time. Yeah. So
back to the topic.
So
back to the topic. Sorry. We digress a lot here, but we're back. Celebrities, famous dudes and dudettes.
Yes, so now that everybody knows how amazing you are, Ruben, and how much you smashed today, we can get into the topic of today. What I wanted to raise first is, obviously there's a lot of celebrities out there that have stutter or have stuttered. Some of the most famous ones that I know of now that are very popular now are the likes of Ed Sheeran, Emily Blunt, and Samuel L. Jackson. But I think one person that I do rate a lot is Joe Biden. I don't know if you watch a lot of the debates that he's getting involved in America. I haven't watched many of them, but I try to catch up on YouTube. And I just think it's amazing how the position that he's in. I just think it's absolutely unbelievable that a person that explained how much he struggled as a kid can reach a position that he was the vice president and now he's going for presidency, right?
Yeah, politics aside, I don't think he will actually win the election, but it is actually a great achievement for someone who stutters. But when you're going through that list, actually, there was one thing all of those people had in common. And maybe some of the other people, famous people who stutter as well, have in common. Do you know what that is?
What? You tell me.
I want you to tell me. Go on. Just have a guess quickly. Just what could be the first 1-2 things that pop out to you? What do they all do? What don't they do?
They no longer stutter now. Is that what you're trying to say?
Some of them, they could stutter, but we don't exactly know. But there's something that they don't do, or they have done it and now they don't do.
Live interviews?
You're gonna punch yourself when you get the answer from me in a few seconds.
Tell me the answer so I can get the punch out of the way.
They don't hold back. Yet. These are the people that are championed by some of our great communities who kind of don't encourage people to overcome, or don't encourage people to actually go beyond, above and beyond.
Yeah.
So it's a bit of a paradox, because you cherish the person when they've completed that journey, but you aren't with them when they're on that journey.
Yeah. I think I mentioned that in a couple of podcasts ago. People respect the end result rather than the work that's put in and the journey that they're currently on. They respect the end result more than work that they put in.
Fully agree, dude. Fully agree. But Joe Biden, so he's probably reached the highest position of anyone who's stuttered, right? I can't think of anyone else who's come even close to
Well,
president.
it depends what you consider to be a high position. What are you ranking it on?
Oh, like because if you go by the assessment that president of the United States is the most powerful person in the world,
Yeah.
then he was vice president to Barack Obama, and now he's still in the mix good 10, 12 years later and going for top spot. That's essentially like the pinnacle in his field and of anyone in his field across the world.
Yeah, so what you're trying to say, if a stutterer can become the most powerful man in the world, essentially, what more inspiration does anyone that has a stutter need?
Exactly. And it is annoying because when these stories are rolled out by media and press outlets and even some organizations, do they really talk about the process? Or do they just say, this person started in school and got bullied when he was 12, and now he's 35 and living life and thriving?
No.
Surely something happened in between, but that
a lot of work.
doesn't.
A hell of a lot of work can happen in between. You know, Joe Biden will talk about it and how much he was pushed and how his family played such a crucial role in him progressing. But do you think with him it was a mindset that he had to change, or do you think someone like him always would have had that mindset?
Change, without doubt. There would have been some element of insecurity at some point when he was growing up. And it may not have been to the extent that we have seen or experienced ourselves, but there must have been. Like, to be honest, it's hard for me to actually assess. I haven't read the guy's autobiography, but if he does get president or maybe after election, I'll take a look, because it's always good to read other people's stories. However, I'm kind of going on a book detox type thing for this year, because I think I read like quite a few books last year and the year before. I went through a period where I was doing like 20 pages a day. Okay. And if you do that consistently, you get through so many books. But I found myself reading all these great books, but I didn't take the action that each book was actually preaching, saying take action. I was like, cool, on to the next book, and just carry on. So this year is all about implementing.
Yeah, well, if you're continuously reading after work, then it's only natural you've got less time to implement things and take action, right?
Yeah, of course. And then it kind of gets to a period where like you think, all right, so I've got a choice between actually starting something that may be like slow and may take a long time, or carry on rereading and these pages in this book and just go. And yeah, like it is good to read. But if you are reading self-help type books, then it doesn't make sense that you don't apply after you've read a certain amount. Maybe fiction is different because it's the stories, and it's good to like enjoy stories and take a break from actually screens and taking things in passively. But with self-help books, the whole point of them is actually to like to make you do things, to change. But if you just keep reading and just stack up the bookshelf, it isn't serving the purpose that it was created for.
Yeah, and it's actually really good that you've recognized that. You can take yourself away from what is happening and say, listen, I'm reading all these books, but this area of my life's not improving. I haven't taken action on that. I haven't done this. But there are so many people, and I see a lot of comments in the various stuttering communities I'm a part of, and they always ask about this book or that book, or have you read this article or that article? And it's almost as if they want to collate all this information, but they have no intention of taking action. Whereas what I found is when you take action and you stumble on a hurdle, I find it easier to read how to get over that hurdle, because you're reading and you're in the middle of taking action. So it is automatically serving the purpose. So reading is not a complete waste of time.
Yeah, of course. And to be honest, there are some things that you can do that would be kind of better ways of spending your time. Say, for example, checking out the podcast and seeing what we get up to and what we are thinking on that day. That's obviously a better option than picking up a book and reading, but I'm just joking there. But we did diverge slightly from Joe Biden. One thing I did want to bring up was this literally comes up in every conversation that you may have with a new person who finds out that you stutter. Gareth Gates.
Yeah.
Gaza.
Yeah. Everybody.
Gaza.
I think that Gareth Gates is probably the most famous stutterer in the UK.
Yeah, it's probably him and Colin Firth. That's how good his acting was.
Yeah. But I do think, obviously, the journey on Pop Idol, how well he did in that competition, what he's gone on to do afterwards, constantly on morning TV, constantly doing shows, releasing music, so hats off to him. And we know how much work he would have had to have put in to getting his speech to a level. So that's obviously really good and really inspiring, and people need to take a lot from that to understand that it wasn't an overnight thing for someone like him. He didn't leave Pop Idol, then all of a sudden he can speak. It was work after work after work after work. So yeah, hats off to him, and everyone should really look at his journey.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I do recall reading something where he was actually getting a bit of stick in a BSA link forum, because I think he must have agreed to speak at some event or something, but couldn't make it because he was ill. Then some other time when he came and he was actually having quite a few blocks, and people just accused him of kind of like preaching about changing the speech and improving, but he isn't applying, or he's not working hard enough, and this and that. But he just had some kind of a bereavement in the family as well, and there's all types of things. And when I read these comments and feedback, etc., I just thought, what are you people doing? You build this guy up and you just want to tear him down, because fair enough, like, he found success with his music career and then found success with his speech. But then now, like, when he's going through tough periods, which we all do, and we all may not be as controlled or as fluent as we want to, and he was experiencing that, and he was still turning up and putting himself like in the spotlight, and people took that as an opportunity to tear him down. These are people within the stuttering community.
Yeah.
Terrible, isn't it?
Yeah. No, that's terrible. That's terrible, because people within the stuttering community know more than anyone what the journey's about, what happens. I always describe it as a graph. So you end up making improvements, then you dip a little bit, then you have to make another improvement, and you dip a little bit. But as long as your graph is continuously going up, but you have dips, in between, then it isn't the end of the world. And during that time, I personally understand how hard it is to go through a stressful time of bereavement, what that can do to your speech and what that can do to your motivation to want to work on your speech, and how you might want to turn your back on the whole working on your speech mindset, and you might think other things are more important than speech. So I fully understand what kind of situation he could have been in during that time. And to get that kind of reception from the stuttering community, I don't really think that's cool, to be honest.
Who do you think is a better person to represent stuttering in the UK, Gareth Gates or Ed Sheeran?
I would say that's a tough one. That's a good question. Because
there's no right answer, to be honest. So even if you're wrong, it's fine.
No, because Gareth Gates obviously shows the working on your speech journey, which I think is more important for people to understand, especially non-stutterers. They need to understand that journey, because people think you go on a course or you work on your speech, you went on that course, you should be fluent. And that journey isn't explained well enough, in my opinion, or it's not explained enough at all to non-stutterers. They think, oh, well, that program or that course didn't work for you because you still block here and there. They need to understand that it is a journey and that it's a long process. You have to work on it every day. Consistency is the key here. Whereas Ed Sheeran stuttered as a kid. And he said that when his parents bought him the Eminem album, he rapped his way to fluency. That's pretty much what his story is, right? But then we look at the statistics, and I know that majority of people grow out of stuttering by the time they're 13 anyway. So you will get some people arguing, oh, but Ed Sheeran had a stutter as a kid, but he was going to grow out of it anyway. So that's why it makes it a tough question. But Ed Sheeran has the bigger platform, obviously, to create more awareness. That's why it's a difficult question, and I don't really have the answer to it. What do you think?
Yeah, as in with Ed Sheeran, the problem is his perspective is completely different and probably something that people who stutter cannot relate with, because he had it, experienced it, and grew out of it. And yes, he rapped his way out of it, but it isn't as simple as that. If it was, then every speech therapist up and down the country, they would be learning a Stormzy lyrics right now, and that would be their therapy. It would be the end of speech therapy within the UK if it was as simple as rap and practice again and again and again these lyrics. Something indirectly must have happened, some kind of change that he may not realize at the time and maybe struggles to realize now, but it isn't a straightforward thing to understand. I think I told you the story once of one of the guys, a mentor, and he has been stuttering since he was 8, but somehow randomly he didn't stutter for an entire year when he was 13. And by that, he didn't just get away with it. He was actually doing drama shows, doing speeches in front of 300, 400 people. He was in theatre at school and having all these crazy experiences. Then he had a massive incident at home which threw him off completely, and he's been stuttering since. He's 15 now. So he's coming up to 20 now, and he's been stuttering again since 15. So it's incredible because he could have had that Ed Sheeran experience for a year and a bit, but something kicked him back. Now, if Ed Sheeran, if he had something like that come back to bite him a few years later after he grew out of it, then his path could have been different.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever seen anyone ask him, do you still have the tension? Do you still have anxiety around stuttering? Do you ever think about it? I don't know. I can't remember if he mentioned that in his NSA speech. I can't remember. I don't think he did. But like going back to what you were saying, that probably was just a one-off experience or a very rare experience, because I had the Marshall Mathers LP and I knew it word for word every song, and I stuttered every day after I learned it. So it is hard to say, oh yeah, just do this and do that. But if you look at someone like Joe Biden, if we look back at him, I know that in his 20s, he wanted to get into politics, and he knew that public speaking was going to have to be something that he had to do quite often. And he would read poetry aloud in his bedroom. And I've heard a lot of people say, I used to read aloud in my room in front of the mirror, and that helped me to overcome my stutter, because I learned how to slow down when I speak, take my time, not rush. How realistic do you think that is? Because that's something that I haven't personally tried, and I never tried that as a kid. So I can't say, oh, no, it's nonsense. But with the Marshall Mathers LP, I can say that Ed Sheeran got over it, and I wasn't able to do that.
The thing is, I did the same thing. So I used to go to speech and drama for almost 10 years, from the age of 7 to 16, 17. And it was all poetry based, prose, sonnets, things from Shakespeare and stuff, and books that I could choose from and take passages. And it was just like reading, picking up kind of different ways to express yourself through poems and stuff, and then taking exams and doing the path there, going to events and speaking in public and contesting. So that was all things I was doing when I was young, and it didn't actually address the stutter. So in those situations, I actually managed to find success. But in the ones that actually mattered in my day-to-day, it didn't like fully help, but it did help me improve my articulation and my ability to express myself. But it didn't deal with the psychological issues regarding the blocks, etc. Because the whole thing was actually based around me trying to actually correct stuttering and become fluent. And if that wasn't going to happen, you have to turn around and just accept it, because if you keep feeling embarrassed by it, and it's going to keep coming back to bite you. That's why some of these people who've had success, they have had these changes, these times in their childhood. So now these memories are gone. They are in the attic now. But the older you get, the harder it gets.
You think the older you get, the harder it gets, in terms of what, from teenage years you're talking about? From teens into early 20s, or you talking?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I agree. But I'm glad that you brought up that you did a drama class, because that moves us on to some of the famous Hollywood actors that have stutters. So you have got the likes of Emily Blunt, you've got the likes of Bruce Willis, you've got the likes of Samuel Jackson, you've got the likes of Julia Roberts and her brother, but I forgot her brother's name. Remind me her name. Do you know her name? His name?
I don't know her or his name.
Okay, Julia Roberts, I'll have to Google her brother's name, who's still very active in the stuttering community in America. But when you were in your drama class...
Eric Roberts,
that's it. That's the one. When you were in your drama class, did your speech improve as a result of getting into the character or whatever role you were playing in your drama class? Did that happen to you? Because a lot of these actors are saying, like Samuel L. Jackson, for example. I read an article about him on entrepreneur.com, and Samuel Jackson was saying that when he got into character, his stutter went. However, that wasn't the case all the time. And I think there was a story that Tom Wheeler was telling me once, where he was on set and he cost the production team around $1 million because he wasn't able to say a word. Now, I don't know how true that is, but that's what Tom Wheeler told me. But in the article anyway, he said, I still stutter today. But his stutter is not consistent. One day will be a G day, which means he can't say any words beginning with G, or he's struggling. And another day will be an S day, blah, 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 like carry on. So did you experience the same thing when you were doing your drama classes? Did your fluency improve when you got into character?
You weren't paying attention, Chris. I didn't do drama specifically. I did speech and drama, and the lane I went on was just spoken word. So it was literally just me standing there talking.
Oh, there was no role playing at all.
No. So this is me. So
I thought it would be a mix.
No, because I just went down that route, and it was just me reciting poems, reciting passages or sonnets and stuff. So I didn't have a character to play because it was just me kind of acting as a narrator or reader.
Okay, but that's still some type of character. That's not the norm for you, right?
No, because it was that was still me talking. So it's as if you would pick up a book or a magazine and read the article. So if you read an article on BBC Sport, and if it was Robbie Savage, and then you read it, would you read it and think kind of, oh, this is me now, I'm Savage?
No, but I think you would put some type of act on. You would have to present it in some type of way. You're on mute, sorry.
It's all good. That was part of it. So, like, because when you start it, you say the title of the poem and the author, and then you go on to read it out, and you kind of like put the emotions into it and passions. So if there's lines like so and so went over here, and then he saw this, and then and then you try to act out with your voice, but you aren't playing any character. You're kind of just reading it out, but trying to bring it to life, trying to bring the poem to life or the story to life. So putting in vocal variety, adjusting your pitch, pausing, creating suspense, but you aren't playing any character. So even if there's a conversation between two characters, you aren't just like switching characters, and you're kind of like just going along with it. Like a narrator, like if you've seen Star Wars, the person at the start of the film that reads out that passage that moves across space in a galaxy far, far away.
Yeah.
And yeah, like you are just a voiceover. So there wasn't acting per se. It wasn't me playing a particular actor, and then because that's where it's different. The reason why actors actually manage to avoid stuttering in those situations, because they can shed their personality temporarily and pretend to be someone else, and they can, in a strange way, trick their mind into thinking that's not them.
Yeah.
And that character does not have stuttering associated to them. But in this case, this was me just reading.
Yeah.
So it on the outside it could sound like a similar thing, but on the inside it's very, very different.
Yeah, you wasn't turning up to class thinking, right, I'm playing this role, or when I read this out, I'm going to put myself into this persona or that persona. It was just, okay, I'm going to go and read aloud.
Exactly. And even now when I speak and I give speeches, this persona that I have, it's kind of taken from all those practices and all the years I put into it. So when I give emotion or vary my pitch and kind of put on a small bit of acting there, just to bring it to life, it's from those classes and the experiences that I had in the past. It's only then like it was tricky, because you're doing all the stuff trying to stay engaged with people and kind of bring the speech to life, but then you're having blocks and stuff. So it does play into the problem. But then because of practicing and the years I spent in it, I became really, really good in those specific situations, which was really cool to actually think back on, because normally when you think back on speaking as a kid or as a teenager, you could only really think of the negative situations. But then I was able to create these positive experiences to balance things out.
That's cool, man. That's cool. But you know these Hollywood actors, Ruben? Can I ask you a question? How much do you think their achievements play a role in them being able to overcome their stutter, as they like to call it? So once they reach a level, do you feel like that's what helps their confidence go through the roof, their self-esteem goes through the roof, and then they can allow themselves to let go? So, for example, once Samuel Jackson made his first X amount of millions and he's a legitimate Hollywood superstar, do you believe that that plays a role as well?
Without a doubt, because I think we have spoken about it previously on the podcast and even offline. Self-esteem is massive when it comes to stuttering. Essentially, if you feel crap about yourself, it's going to affect the way you do everything. And that isn't just communication or speaking. It affects the way you do everything in your day. Now with speaking, because the effect is the effect manifests straight away. So when you speak, Chris, if you're feeling crap, you're going to feel there'll be a difference. Some point tension will start to crop up, and a few insecurities will start to crop up as well. Now, the reason why you don't actually see that properly when you're doing other things, like if it's going for a run or with a group of friends or speaking to a girl across the bar straight away, because you are able to kind of pause in those times and reconcile with those thoughts. But when you're speaking and when you encounter a block and you get instant feedback from that block, and this is bad, then that's why the effect is so much more when you speak. And people don't actually realize that this affects everything. It isn't just affecting just your speech. It affects everything, even your posture. Like something as basic as that can be affected by your low self-esteem. The good thing is that it works the other way as well. So you can actually turn it and use that against your stutter. So by like achieving all these things, you start to feel good about yourself because you start to experience success within your realm. And this feeds into your self-esteem. Then eventually stuttering becomes a sideshow, because the whole fear was not trying to reach these heights because of your stutter, but now you have in spite of it. So that makes it even more of an achievement, which does make you feel really, really good. Really, really good. So they don't care. They're rich. They got their films, their success, their shows. They have achieved it. Everything that they would have wanted to achieve when they were experiencing all the difficulties growing up.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. We're getting a lot of love on the Facebook feed, Ruben. A lot of love on the Facebook feed.
Very nice. There's a lot of people who don't have many plans right now.
Yeah,
thank you for joining us. We appreciate it.
Yeah, we'd like to thank you for joining. We've got a few comments. We've checked in here. Let's have a look. We've got our friend Leo. Faizan's on. Simon Bailey's here. I've got a couple of friends that I reckon up. Paul Heiser's there. Paul Heiser. He's left a nice comment. So proud of you, CJ. Thank you. Dimitri, Can't believe so many famous people have a stutter. Well done, guys, for your hard work to help people to be successful in life, even though they've got a stutter. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. We will continue. We will continue. We've got a comment from Simon Bailey. Good to see my buddies, Ruben and CJ. Good to see
Simon.
you, Simon.
Thank you, Simon. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Simon. He's also said, oh my God, the BSA are taking action. What do you think, guys? Our fantastic team of volunteers are offering a new service for those feeling isolated over this period. If you'd like to keep in touch, then you get in touch with their helpline. Now, I don't have a problem with plugging that. I don't have a problem with plugging that. Do you have a problem with plugging that, Ruben?
No, it's all good. I think Simon is part of the Samaritans, and they do great work. And now is a critical time with people self-isolated. There are certain people out there in trouble.
Yep.
And it's important that we continue to look out for each other and offer these services. So yeah, no problem at all, dude. No problem at all with promoting great work.
Yeah, it's important to promote great work. It's important to let people know what else is out there if they're looking for help. It's important to give them as many options as possible. We've got a question from Sanika here. Oh, this is a good question. What is the one thing you couldn't live without accomplishing? Oh, Ruben, I'll hand that one over to you, mate, straight away. Mate. I need time to think about that.
No, that's a bit cheeky, isn't it? What is the one thing you couldn't live without accomplishing? That's a great question.
Well, I think I know what mine is. I'm pretty sure I know what mine is. I would say, for me, the one thing I've always wanted to accomplish is being able to live life on my terms, even though I've got a stutter. And every day I'm working on that. And by living life on my terms, I mean, regardless of if I'm going to experience a block in a certain situation, I will still put myself in that situation. And I proved it to myself a few times. I had one difficult challenge last year, had a couple this year, and I will continue regardless of what level of speech I'm at that time, how well I feel about myself, what my self-esteem is like at that moment, my confidence. I will still put myself in that speaking situation. And that is something that I've always wanted to accomplish, and I always will work hard to make sure that I maintain that. Ruben, any thoughts yet?
Before I carry on, I think that's a bit of a cop-out of an answer, because the way I saw that question was, what is the one thing you couldn't live without accomplishing? And that could have been like any specific thing. So I thought you were going to bring up your basketball stint and your attempt to actually turn that into a career. Because looking back, like that has actually given you so much, and it's still a big part of your life currently.
Yeah,
so
but
that's what I was thinking about.
Something that I've accomplished. I never accomplished what I set out. I set out to be a professional basketball player, and I never achieved that. But I can live with that. But in terms of being able to live with it or not being able to control yourself when you have a fear of stuttering, to me, is more important than that.
Oh, really? Wow. So for me personally, I think, or I actually know the answer is my journey into Thai boxing, picking that up, the way I picked it up, and the years I spent in it, the people I met through it, the travel experiences that I gained from it, spending quite a bit of time in Thailand, training out there, learning so much about myself and pushing myself to different heights through those experiences, and then taking those experiences back and now applying them in kind of these videos, these podcasts, charity, and all these positive things. I've gained so much energy and confidence and support through those experiences. And if I didn't go through that process, I would honestly be a completely different person currently. So that's one thing I could not live without. My finding, experiencing, competing, and living Thai boxing.
That's great. That's great, Ruben. That's great. We've also got another question from Samika. So why do you guys think stuttering isn't represented on a bigger scale? I feel as though it only gets 15 minutes. I've been stuttering all my life, and I've just found out that there's a stuttering awareness day. Now I have to admit, until I started to work on my speech in 2018, I didn't have a clue there was a stuttering awareness day either. I didn't even know the BSA existed.
I think I found out about Stuttering Awareness Day in 2016. And I think it just shows the amount of work that's left to be done out there, just to promote the fact that there is a stammering or stuttering charity that exists. Because I didn't know there was a BSA there until 2016, 17. And I didn't even find it. Someone else told me about it.
Yeah.
And then
I heard about A, to be honest. I remember A.
That doesn't even count then.
Yeah. Well, I remember A was saying, "Are you a member of the BSA? How come you didn't do anything before?" And I was like, "Who's the BSA?" He was like, "The British Stammering Association." I was like, "No, I never heard of them."
He must have thought you were some kind of joker, innit?
Like, what do you mean? You've had to start your whole life, you never heard of the British Stammering Association. But I had never heard of the British Stammering Association. But now I have heard of them. I obviously know what work they do and how much they have done for the stuttering community. But I just never heard of them. So
back to the question, Chris.
Yeah.
Back to the question. So why do you think it isn't represented on a bigger scale? So why do you think other causes probably get more airtime?
I personally believe that there are a number of reasons, but I think one big reason is because as stutterers, we spend our lives trying to hide it, and we're not as open about it. So I've always said this, as an out of control stutterer, you try your best to get to a conversation with the listener, not knowing that you have a stutter. So you can come across rude rather than coming across as someone that's got a stutter. Or you can come across as you haven't got time for the conversation and you just want to leave wherever you are, rather than I have a stutter, please be patient with me. And I think that is a big reason. How can we expect the masses to understand what we're going through if we're not prepared to show it? We try to keep it a secret. It's only, I think recently there's been a lot more awareness, there's been a lot more improvement, but we've still got a hell of a long way to go. I don't know what you think the main reason is, Ruben, because I think it's something that we portray that we can live with sometimes. It's like something that we don't really want people to know. We don't really want people to make an exception for us. We don't want to put it on our CV. We don't want to advertise it. The more we advertise to people, the more they're going to be aware of it. I mean, I know working on my speech, I know how many people have been like, oh, okay, I didn't realize that it affected you that much. And I used to be like, how can you not realize they affected me that much? But I wasn't showing them. I was just being silent. I wouldn't get involved in conversations. I would try and hide. And I think that's a big reason why perhaps fluent speakers wouldn't take it as such a serious problem as what it can be. What do you think?
Couple of reasons. Yes, I fully agree with all that. And probably the underlying reason is that because it's invisible, it's hard to get traction, because there's a whole spectrum. And to be honest, like you could be a person who stutters but come across as fluent for days on end and then start your face off. If someone is paralyzed, they're paralyzed. So it's misunderstood. And then on top of all that, because of the nature of it, you need people, you need people to speak up about it, to stand up and speak up about stuttering. But because of the nature of it, people don't speak up because they can't, or they are ashamed to do so. At that point, they didn't have the confidence to go for it. Because of all that silence, you probably spent years thinking you were the only one who stuttered, or maybe came across one more person or two.
Yeah, I remember someone telling me 1 in 100 people stutter. And I used to be like, no, that's not true. Because there's over 800 people in my school and I'm the only one that stutters. So how does that work out?
That's what you thought though.
Yeah.
That's what you thought probably, but there's probably people hiding out there somehow successfully, just slipping away, avoiding conversations even. Now, if you're trying to raise awareness, you can't do it by yourself. I'm sorry. You may have the best interests of heart, but if you aren't part of a community or some kind of group that you can fall back on and push each other together, then you can find success. But if you're doing it by yourself, you're going to struggle. And that's essentially kind of driven by the nature of it. It encourages silence and funding problems.
Yeah. Do you also think that the representation of stuttering as a whole, and I'm talking fluent people that maybe stumble on their words, because of how that's viewed? Like, I remember seeing something on TV and someone was being interviewed and they were a fluent speaker and they started to stumble in their words. And they said, oh, sorry for stuttering there. Like, they had to apologize for stuttering. And also with stuttering, a lot of negativity is related to it. Being unsure, being
clumsy, untrustworthy, unconfident. Yeah.
All these things. So it only makes it harder for us. But I think that is also because of the lack of awareness of how much it affects someone that has a stutter, and that person who has a stutter isn't clumsy, isn't unaware, isn't stupid.
Yeah.
That's what makes it hard. That's what makes it hard. But really, we're getting a lot of traction on this Facebook feed today.
Just going to say quickly, taking it full circle, that's probably why I would rate Gareth Gates a lot more higher than Ed Sheeran and a better representation, because he comes across as someone so confident, because he's blocking all over the place in front of national TV, but he's still there. He's still like putting a smile through it, and then he works in his speech. He comes back, he does his music, and he keeps turning up. And he is a better representation for people out there who stutter and who are looking for some kind of hope, because you don't have to rectify it and then go off and experience your success like the rest of them. Gareth has shown that you can pursue what you want to pursue, go in front of TV, even when you are at your worst.
Yeah.
And that is so powerful, because if you can do it at your worst, then when time comes and when you reach your peak, you'll be flying. But by that point, it will not make a difference.
Yeah. He went on Pop Idol, the biggest TV show in the country that year. And he knew that it was going to be the biggest TV show. And that was before he had done any type of program, anything, any intervention. And he went on there and he stuttered on his name. And Simon Cowell said they even had to cut it so that the block wasn't as long as what it actually was. He said it was like 2.5 minutes straight trying to say his name. But he still went on there and he still took action and he still chased his dreams. It was something that really meant a lot to him and nothing was going to get in his way. So, yeah. But yeah, going to the Facebook feed here, we got Robin here. He said, same here until last year. I assume that he's referring to the
ISAD, International Awareness Day.
Yeah.
Did not know it existed until 2020 or 2019. Not very good, Robin. Not very good. Get Google.
Yeah. Samika says, thank you guys. For me, I can't live without truly embracing my stutter. So I can gain confidence to accomplish my goals and dreams without doubt, fear, or shame.
You know what?
We are both not copping out there. We are not.
You know what? I have to say that was an open-ended question, but I just felt that you gave the answer that they wanted to hear, and sometimes you should actually give them like the answer that maybe they did not think about. Because I do believe that your basketball experience did shape you. It did shape you.
It did. Yeah. Okay. But at that moment, when I was asked that question, if I would have said anything else, it would have been a lie. And that's what I wasn't prepared to do. But if we go on to the next, Robin has also
You're a passionate guy, Chris. Fair enough.
Robin has also said stuttering has an incredibly detrimental effect on mental health. So I hope to see in the future maybe more emphasis and therapies catered.
Yeah, completely agree. The stress you get from bad experiences, just from simply being around people, it can be tiring and stressful. So Robin, completely agree, dude. Completely agree. Thank you for your comment.
Completely agree. Samika's commented after, I think if it's represented on a bigger scale, I think it can help others to know that you don't have to hide and be ashamed. I think it will educate others about stutter. Completely agree.
Vote Biden. There you go. Done. Job done.
Yeah.
Next.
Leo, that might be also wrong belief I have developed over the years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. And that is something that we have all had at some point probably. And it's up to us to realize and then reframe it and reteach ourselves. Reteach yourself how to think and how to believe in yourself. Come on, Leo, you can do it.
Yeah, you can do it. Leo for sure can do it. If anyone can do it, it's him. He is a very motivated guy. Very motivated. Well. But yeah, Ruben, it's been great. Let's wrap it up.
Cool, yeah. I'm running out of battery, dude. So yeah,
I know you must be getting hungry.
Yeah.
Any quick final thoughts, final words?
Yes. Okay. Quick pop question, right? Name 3 famous people who stutter who we haven't mentioned on the podcast today. Go.
Okay. Tiger Woods.
Really?
Yep.
Okay.
Shaquille O'Neal. Richard Branson.
No way. Really? Yeah. I do not believe that at all.
Okay, look them up. I encourage everyone on the Facebook feed to look them up as well. Very inspirational. Maybe we could do a part 2 one day and cover those guys.
All right.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you very much for tuning in. We have come to the end of this great podcast. Thank you for everyone that left comments, interacted. Thanks for tuning in again. And Ruben, over to you.
Remember guys, just like everyone that we mentioned on this podcast, achieving everything, stop holding back.